you're first, and then we'll have Dave finish up. Right. So I'm Dave Bentz from the Berks County DUI DUI Taskforce. I should start that over, but I'm Dave Bentz from the Berks County DUI Taskforce, and I don't need this when I'm speaking on the camera and there's no one 6 feet. The chief won't yell at me for that. So we're here today at the Wilcox Farm to remind drivers, not necessarily just drivers, but also pedestrians and parents, and all those that are going to go out and enjoy the holiday for Halloween, that DUI remains a problem in 2020. We continue to make DUI arrests, and law enforcement is going to target those impaired drivers over these next 2-3 weekends to get them off the roads and our streets and our developments to make them safer for the motoring public, right? To speak to that and the DUI problem, Chief Dzurek from the Douglass Police Department here in Berks County will have some talking points for all.
Hi. The Douglass Township Police Department, along with other law enforcement agencies from across Berks County, will be attempting to keep our goblins and ghouls safe this holiday season through Halloween by committing to sober driving, Halloween night and every day. To help spread the message about safe and sober driving habits, we're teaming up with local officials to spread the word, and we ask for your assistance in helping to get that word across to the public and to your family and friends that let's keep Halloween and every day sober and alcohol and drugs off the roadways. During Halloween night, generally, which is October 31st through November 1st, from 2014 to 2018, there were 145 people killed in drunk driving crashes. Also during Halloween night, those killed, 41% of those killed in traffic crashes occurred with at least one drunk driver. During Halloween night in 2018, there were 13 vehicle occupants and 2 pedestrians killed in drunk driving crashes. Nationally, it is illegal to drive with a BAC of 0.08 or higher, and there's no exceptions to that rule. Men are more likely than women to be the driver in drunk driving fatal crashes, and 21% of these male drivers involved in fatal crashes were drunk, compared to the 14% of the female drivers. On average, a DUI can set you back $10,000 in fees, attorney's fees, court costs, lost time of work, higher insurance costs, car towing, and more. Remember that it's never okay to drink and drive. If you even had one alcoholic drink, it may cause you to be over the legal limit. If available, use your community sober ride program and invest in Uber or Lyft. It's a lot cheaper than attorney fees and fines and court costs. If you see a drunk driver, contact 911. And do you have a friend who is about to drink and drive? Take away their keys, plan your parties accordingly, and don't allow them to get on the road. Have a contingency plan on helping them get home if need be. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Everly from the DUI Enforcement Program. We cover the municipal police coordination and funding for overtime enforcement in 12 counties to cover roving patrols and sobriety checkpoints, which includes not only alcohol but drugs. As Dave Bentz spoke earlier, he's our coordinator for Berks County. We just, not going to say don't drink and drive. We definitely don't want you to do drugs and drive, but when you do go out, make sure that you don't overindulge or you have somebody else drive that's a safe driver, so you make sure you get to where you're going and you don't injure yourself or anybody else. One thing I'd like to point out, that all crashes, property damage, injuries, deaths, and arrests are all 100% preventable when it comes to impaired driving. It's the motorist that makes the poor choice and elects to operate a vehicle after they've been using either alcohol or controlled substances or a combination of both. Thank you.
So this somewhat brings our event to a close. We'd like to certainly thank the Wilcox Farm, and sort of as both Mr. Everly and Chief Dzurek pointed out, our message is not about not having fun on Halloween. That's never been our message. Our message is to have a safe Halloween. We want you to be a safe host. If you're going to host a party that's going to have alcohol, that's fine. Make sure your party's attendees have a safe way home. That's part of being a good host. We want people to remember that those kiddos are going to be out in the street in darker clothing, things that we tell them not to do. But the streets of our developments are going to be loaded with kids. trick-or-treating and having fun and doing the things that they need to do to be kids and maybe get away from this COVID for a little bit. We want you if you're going to have a party that's going to have alcohol, be responsible. Make sure you have a safe way for those people to get home. Remember, as Mr. Everly said, impairment begins with that first drink. So if you're going to have one drink, know your way you're going to get home safely before you put the keys in that ignition to head to the event. Have that already planned out, that you know how you're going to get home safe, so that we all can get home safe. The roads are for everyone, and we like to protect everyone. If you do see someone on the road that you believe is impaired, someone that might be weaving, might be going too fast, or even going too slow, please call 911. Give law enforcement that heads up where that car is at. Give us a description so that we can try to get that impaired driver off the road. We're going to have extra patrols out there targeting specifically those impaired drivers. We'll do things like DUI checkpoints and DUI roving patrols to make sure that we get those impaired drivers off the street, but we certainly need your help to do that. Give us a helping hand doing that. And finally, like I try to end every press or any public information speech that I do, wear your seatbelt as though your life depends on it, because it really does. It's the best defense you have against that impaired driver, and we want to keep you safe on the road. Thank you. We'll certainly take any questions you might have if we missed anything.
Just one about when dealing with COVID, do you guys have to do anything differently with checkpoints or anything, or is it pretty much the same?
We do have a checkpoint plan. Our procedures have definitely drastically changed. One small item, but we used to give drivers some literature about the dangers of DUI, so that we try to meet with those drivers at a checkpoint maybe 30 to 45 seconds, which isn't enough time or a lot of time to educate them about DUI, so we give them some literature about that. We're no longer handing literature to people that come into checkpoints. Certainly officers are taking further precautions to make sure that they're safe, so that we're not touching cars, we're not transmitting car to car. But yes, checkpoints have changed in COVID. We, like everyone else, are hoping for the end of COVID really soon.
Just in general for checkpoints, what kind of things have you learned over the years, and how has anything really changed? With just how you put them on.
So checkpoints, there's 5 key decision-making factors that we have to use to establish a checkpoint. We can't just go out and arbitrarily put a checkpoint anywhere on the road. We have to have prior arrest data. We need some crash data. And we need to have advance notice, those kind of things. That checkpoints aren't just willy-nilly, we're going to go out and put signs up and start stopping traffic. We put checkpoints specifically in area where we have DUI problems, and we've made DUI arrests. If I've learned anything in particular from checkpoints, it's amazing to see how technology has maybe helped people circumvent the checkpoint a little bit. Particularly, I don't know that we're really concerned about that. One of the things we do to combat that is we'll change checkpoint locations throughout the night, so that we get ahead of maybe those texters or Facebook posters. But I'm personally okay with if somebody posts that there's a DUI checkpoint on 422, that's great, because that message is getting out to more people than I can hand pamphlets to. Pamphlets a bad example, we just talked about that. But if we talk to 600 cars a night, that Facebook post that's saying the police are out there looking for impaired drivers is going to hit way more than 600. So advertise away, let everyone know we're out there. We certainly appreciate that, because the police we're looking for the impaired drivers, and we're going to get you off the road. That's our goal.
Do you do you think that there will be more people this year or less because of just the situation, less people celebrating?
I think in the beginning of COVID, maybe Chief Dzurek can speak a little bit more to this, because he's a little bit more administrative than I. But in the beginning of COVID, we took some steps that officers weren't making as many contacts as normal. As we went through the yellow and green phase, that has now changed, and we're pretty much back to normal. We're doing different things, like he's standing here wearing a mask. That would have never happened before. We have less contact on a normal traffic stop, but I can tell you this, we are making DUI arrests. It's not that we're not stopping people, we're not making DUI arrests because of COVID. That is not at all true. We're making DUI arrests every day, trying to get impaired drivers off the road, because there's too many out there. So while there was a change maybe in the beginning of COVID, I can say, at least for my agency and most of the agencies that I talk to, that's no longer a concern.
Yeah, just to add to what Sergeant Bentz had said, our officers officers have pretty much returned to normal procedure as far as traffic stops. The only extra enhancements we're doing is, if we don't need to touch their credentials coming out of their cars, we all have cell phones. We're taking pictures of the stuff and going back and working off the pictures to run their information and make sure everything's valid and in order. As far as our DUI detection, the masks kind of prohibit, or the face coverings kind of prohibit our sense of smell. You know, cuts down on the odor of alcohol, so it's actually enhanced our other features as far as telling whether if they're intoxicated or not, and shouldn't maybe be driving a car by their reaction time, their speech, their eyes. So we're relying a lot more on those what's the word I'm looking for? Indicators, other than just a simple smell of the alcohol. And like Sergeant Bentz has also said, we are more and more finding more and more drug-related DUIs than we are the alcohol-related DUIs.
Is that just this year, or is that all? Is that with drug-related, or how long has that been? A few years?
I mean, Sergeant Bentz would probably know the stats better. As far as our things go, it's just basically we've noticed more. We're getting more and more drug-related.
I can say
DUIs.
law enforcement in general has done a better job of training our folks how and what to look for in that drug impaired. There's more training out there, advanced roadside impairment detection, and the drug recognition experts are out there now. When I first started 20 years ago, those things didn't happen, but today we've seen the problem. We investigate crashes where we know people are high, not necessarily drunk. And in the beginning of my career, we might not have known what to do with that. Today, that is not the case. We are trained and ready to take those drug impaired drivers off the road. Make sense?
Yes.
It's a little far to travel, but if anyone's interested, November 17th and 18th, we're having an A-RIDE, Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement. Now that'll be in Pottsville, but we do have also state police coming from the Reading Barracks and Hamburg Barracks. It's a 2-day class for the officers to give them a better indication as how to determine if somebody's on controlled substances.
Good. Certainly have a safe holiday. No more bee stings. That was bad. Did you see Holly started dancing more when that happened? But thank you, Wilcox Farm, for allowing us to be here.